Ready?
Hi there.
Live at 7:00.
715? 717.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. We are pretty busy right up till the very end and obviously past the very end of our shift. Welcome back, those of you who've been here the last couple weeks. Welcome for the first time to those of you who have not been. I'm Dr. Colleen VanHoogstraat. It's my husband, Dr. Marc VanHoogstraat. And we are just starting a new little fun routine here on Wednesday nights with answering some of the most common questions we receive on a regular basis, answering some new questions that people are posing to us each and every week, and touching on some hot topics in health and nutrition and functional medicine. But tonight, I'm going to lead in with, gotta turn on the fan. Hopefully the sound isn't distracting. We receive questions on the regular as far as thyroid health is concerned. And quite often it goes something like this, where people want to know.
Well, first, let's say it comes up a lot in just the consultations and the history taking that we do, that so many people, women primarily, are taking thyroid medication, have been for years or decades, get tested routinely and regularly with really no change to their health or no change to their prescriptions. Something pretty much like that.
Yeah.
So
the question is often, I think I might have a thyroid problem, or I thought I had a thyroid problem, but all my tests are showing that everything is normal, yet I still feel lousy. That's one of the most common questions or concerns we hear regarding thyroid. And then there are others, but I'll let Dr. Marc start chipping away at the answer. I'm going to be on the other side of the phone where I can see the screen, so if you have comments, questions, I should be able to see them tonight. Please feel free to share. Please, we encourage you to share this video with those people who need to know a little bit more about a natural approach to health, especially thyroid conditions.
So I'm just going to cover a couple things that I highlight when I'm doing a consultation with a client, and invariably it's something that they've never heard before. Their doctors have never explained this before. Leads to a lot of frustration because, again, a lot of these people are just being treated for years with really no improvement. So first of all, testing. What most often happens is people, the only test they're having is the TSH. And in a second here, I'm going to explain the different hormones that are made by the thyroid and how all that stuff works, the whole domino effect. But I want to talk about testing first, because this is where so many things get missed, and it's the repeat test that just continues to show nothing. So when we run a thyroid panel, we order blood work for someone, we get a full 10 thyroid marker panel. Okay. Now, you might be surprised to hear that it's only $157.40. That's what it costs to order this blood work. So it's not an expensive test, but we're seeing all the markers that are important. And again, I'm going to explain where they all come into play here. But typically, people only get TSH, and TSH stands for thyroid stimulating hormone. In addition to that, the lab range that you see on your blood work comes back, typically is in the area of 0.5 to 5.5. Might be 4 or 0.4 to 4.5, but it's a really broad range. And when we see TSH, we want to see it between 0.5 and 1.5, maybe up to 2. Much narrower range, and that's where healthy thyroid really resides. Okay, but the TSH, I can tell you, there's not a single scientific study on the planet that shows a normal TSH number has anything to do with normal thyroid function. You can't make that leap that, oh, your TSH is in the normal range, therefore you don't have a thyroid problem. You cannot, it's not enough data to really say that. So let me go back and explain a couple things here about how your thyroid works. So we have a couple glands in the brain that are involved. So this is the hypothalamus. And the hypothalamus releases thyroid releasing hormone to your pituitary, which releases TSH, same one we talked about earlier. The TSH goes to your thyroid. So your pituitary gland, which is in the middle of your brain, releases thyroid stimulating hormone, which basically tells your thyroid gland, hey, get to work, make your stuff. Mostly what your thyroid makes is called T4. So that one we see over here. About 94% of what it makes is T4. The other one is T3. Now they're named that because of the number of iodine molecules that are in those hormones. So T4 has 4 iodine molecules, T3 has 3. But the vast majority of what your thyroid makes is T4, and guess what? T4 is considered the inactive hormone in the body. It's not the active hormone that triggers good metabolism and lots of good function. That's T3. So we need to look at those numbers as well. So that's why those are included here. There's a couple different versions. There's total numbers of those hormones, and then there's considered what's called free T4 and free T3. So those are unbound and not really actively, physiologically active yet. So the problem though here is T4 is inactive. It needs to get converted to T3. Now let me back up a second here, because when people get prescribed medication for a suspected thyroid issue, the majority are hypothyroid, meaning low thyroid. How they diagnose that is they will see an elevated TSH number. So it goes up beyond the 5.5. And I've seen TSHs really elevated, like 12 and things like that. Basically how medicine interprets this is, okay, the TSH is high, meaning your brain's trying to get your thyroid to make hormones. That's why the TSH is elevated. It'd be like elevated insulin with a blood sugar issue. So the medications that they prescribe for thyroid, typically your Synthroid and your levothyroxine, those types of meds, those are T4 meds. So they're prescribing you T4 because your brain's trying to make your thyroid make it. So they say, well, let's just give it T4. So then you'll see your TSH number drop, but there's more to the story here. We're not finished yet. So just giving somebody T4, because T4 doesn't do anything. It still has to get converted to T3, okay? Now, we're going to bring in a whole other system here, because this is what I see largely in people who have a thyroid problem. This is actually what's causing it. But this conversion here, there's a number of things that are needed for that, some nutrients, so there could be some nutritional deficiencies like selenium that are required here. But 80% of this conversion here happens in the gut, primarily the liver and the intestines. And so in the last video we talked a lot about the cell and how the inflammation of the cell can move you into a state of hormone resistance. Well, what I want to tell you is T3 here, we have a cell and we have receptors on the cell. It's T3. When T3 talks to the cell, that's when the magic happens. You look good, you feel good, you stay lean, you poop well, you sleep well, your hair stays healthy, your skin stays healthy, all those great things. The thyroid is a master gland. Every single cell in your body has thyroid receptors, but the only way your thyroid is gonna help you is if T3 talks to the cell. So this T4 has to get converted to T3, and then it has to actually get to the cell. It's carried on by little taxi cabs, kind of like called thyroglobulins. They carry the hormones around the body, and then it has to talk to the cell. Well, this conversion here happens in the gut, most of it, and some of it happens at the level of the cell. And also, the cell itself has to be healthy, so that those receptors are there. So again, we don't want the inflammation blocking these receptors or blocking the cell membrane. So we're making our way through what we're testing here. So we're seeing the numbers of T4 and T3 and both bound and unbound. I'm not going to get into a couple of these here, but these other ones down here at the bottom, these are 2 antibodies that would indicate if it's more of an autoimmune based problem. And so a lot of times we'll see the TPO antibodies, which stands for thyroid peroxidase. Basically, your thyroid gland is being attacked by your own immune system. And so that can disrupt the production of the hormones. And in fact, that is the majority of people. 80% of people with thyroid problems have an autoimmune issue. So again, that brings us back to the gut, because that's primarily where your immune system resides, and a lot of issues start there. But so I can tell you for a fact that if you have an autoimmune thyroid problem, taking Synthroid or levothyroxine is not going to solve it. It's going to do zero for you. So you got to treat it as an immune system issue. The thyroid's just the target. Okay. And then there's one last one here that's really important. It's called reverse T3. So the liver will convert T4 into reverse T3, which takes up the same receptors that would normally dock T3 and blocks them, so T3 can't get in there. It's almost like a mirror image hormone. And it'll also do that, the liver will also do that if there's excess T4. So if they're pumping you full of Synthroid constantly, your liver might be converting it to reverse T3 because there's too much T4 in your system. So that's another issue that comes up. It's a really important one to look at. So this is your 10 marker panel here that really is what you should order. Like I said, we order it routinely. It's not an expensive test. I don't know why they don't order it, but they're constantly looking at this, and it's just not enough information. So hopefully that helps you understand a little bit about the thyroid mechanisms here, what should be tested or looked at, and then from that you've got better data, better information to make a better decision on how to move forward. So I think that about wraps it up. There's probably going to be some questions on this, so just throw them in the comment section, and we'll respond to you or do another video maybe.
A couple people messaged privately just to ask, okay, this looks really good. This looks like something I need to be doing to finally get better. How do I do that? First step is just call our office or leave a comment or go ahead and message again, and I'll let you know how to schedule this type of a consultation to get started on the right track. But if you leave your name in the comments or privately message us, we will help you schedule that initial consultation and start digging a little deeper for you.
Cool.
Good.
See you next time.